damn phones. Babylons can't crack the code.
What it do, YouTube? B Kelly back again with another banger video, and in today's video, y'all, I'm going to be kicking off my 2021 college football season predictions, and I'm first going to talk about the SEC in today's video. The first side that I'm going to be talking about today is the SEC West. The first team that I'm going to be talking about out of the SEC West is the 2020 college football season national champions in the Alabama Crimson Tide. In the 2021 college football season, Alabama will take on Miami, Mercer, Florida, Southern Miss, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Tennessee, LSU, New Mexico State, Arkansas, and Auburn. Alabama is losing some key players on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball from the previous season, and will have some new faces that are starting for the first time in their college football career. Example, the new quarterback one is going to be Bryce Young, more than likely. But Alabama has a lot of depth at pretty much every position, and they're constantly being one of the top 5 teams in recruiting classes, pretty much every recruiting class that there's been recently. And there's really not much concern for Alabama and the talent scale, and it's really hard for me to count out Nick Saban whenever he's coaching for them. My record prediction for Alabama for the 2021 college football season is to finish 11-1 to 12-0 and still be a top team in college football. Now, I will say there are a few tough games on their schedule, such as Florida, Texas A&M, LSU, and Auburn, just to name a few. I'm not really going to count Miami, even though some people will say it will be a really big game, and it is the first game, basically, with a lot of new players in starting positions for Alabama. But ultimately, I think Alabama is going to beat Miami pretty handily, and I really don't think Miami is going to do much with Alabama, but that's just my opinion. The next team that I'm going to be talking about from the SEC West is Texas A&M. Now, for the 2021 college football season, Texas A&M plays Kent State, Colorado, New Mexico, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Alabama, Missouri, South Carolina, Auburn, Ole Miss, Prairie View A&M, and LSU. Now, the big question with Texas A&M this season is their quarterback issue. They really do not have a for sure starting quarterback as of this moment, as they did just lose their longtime starting quarterback to the NFL draft by the name of Kellen Mond. For this season, I have Texas A&M going 9-3 to 11-1. I believe Texas A&M has a lot of talent, and they have the ability to be 11-1 and compete for a spot in the SEC title game, but it really just depends on consistency of their offense with quarterback play and how they can do finishing out games, and really the big question is if they're ever going to beat Alabama. The next team I'm going to be talking about is LSU. Now, LSU is coming off a season that many say was a very disappointing season, especially after winning the national championship the season prior. In 2020, they went 5-5, but they had a lot of new faces on the defense and offense because a lot of the players that were starting from that 2019 national championship squad for LSU went to the draft. In 2021, LSU will play UCLA, McNeese, Central Michigan, Mississippi State, Auburn, Kentucky, Florida, Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana Monroe, and Texas A&M. For this season, I am predicting LSU to finish at worst 7-5 and at best 10-2. Now, I do like the returning production that LSU has, and I do think they have a lot of potential. But there's some variables that will weigh in on how their season will go. One, the defense. The defense has to be better this season, and it has to be way more consistent, as last year the defense was not very good at all. The next team I'm going to be talking about is Auburn. Now, Auburn last season, in my opinion, was kind of hyped up going in and finished very disappointing as they finished 6-5, and I thought a lot of that went down on Bo Nix, as Bo Nix had a lot of consistency issues last season, and I felt like he kind of dragged down the offense as a whole. Now, in 2021, Auburn will play Akron, Alabama State, Penn State, Georgia State, LSU, Georgia, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Alabama. For the 2021 college football season, I am predicting Auburn to finish anywhere from 7-5 to 9-3. I think 9-3 is the best they will be with Bo Nix. And I might be wrong on Bo Nix, but Bo Nix really has not showed me anything that he's going to make Auburn just the next great SEC team. And honestly, I think this is a make it or break it season for Bo Nix, as Bo Nix has struggled with a lot of consistency issues in the past in his first 2 years at Auburn so far as quarterback 1. And I feel like if Bo Nix can finally figure it out, Auburn's going to be a really good team. But until then, you really cannot be hyping up Auburn as the next SEC champion until Bo Nix figures out his consistency issues. Next up, I'm going to be talking about Ole Miss. Now, Ole Miss in 2021 will play Louisville, Austin Peay, Tulane, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, LSU, Auburn, Liberty, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State. For the 2021 college football season, I have Ole Miss finishing at worst 6-6 and at best 9-3. I think they have a really tough schedule this season, but I know they're going to have a very high-powered offense with Matt Corral and Lane Kiffin. I think Matt Corral was very good last season, and if he can cut down on some of the turnovers like he had in some games last year, I definitely can see him being a Heisman dark horse and making this team just that much better. The next team I'm going to be talking about is Arkansas. Now, Arkansas last season was year 1 under Coach Pittman, and I was really impressed. They went 3-7, but they were competing with a lot of teams better, and they definitely could have won a few of those games that they lost, and potentially could have had a winning record. For the 2021 college football season, I am predicting Arkansas to finish anywhere from 4-8 to 7-5. Now, before people get mad at me for saying they could finish 4-8, Arkansas does have a tough schedule, as they do play Rice, Texas, Georgia Southern, Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Auburn, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Mississippi State, LSU, Alabama, and Missouri. Now, it is primarily tough because they are in the SEC West, and in my opinion, the SEC West is way better than the SEC East. No slander towards the SEC East. I think the SEC West is just stacked, and I feel like that might go against Arkansas just a little bit. But I do believe Arkansas will go to a bowl game this season and finish 6-6 at least, but I do know 4-8 is possible as well for Arkansas with their schedule. But I have been impressed by Coach Pittman with Arkansas, and I do think they have a lot of potential for the future. The last team I'm going to be talking about out of the SEC West is Mississippi State. Now, Mississippi State is coming off year 1 under Mike Leach, in which they finished 4-7. Now, their 2021 college football schedule is Louisiana Tech, NC State, Memphis, LSU, Texas A&M, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Arkansas, Auburn, Tennessee State, and Ole Miss. I will say this, I think it's really hard to predict how Mississippi State will do this season in year 2 under Mike Leach, since last season they looked very inconsistent with the offense, but I do think that will improve throughout the season this year, especially knowing that it won't be a weird season where they really did not have spring ball in 2020. Now, I will say this about their out-of-conference schedule. It is very tough. I mean, they started off playing Louisiana Tech, NC State, and Memphis all before they start off conference play, and their first conference game is versus LSU, that is going to be out for vengeance after getting upset by Mississippi State in the first game of the season last year. Now, I think at worst, Mississippi State will go 3-9, but I feel pretty confident that they will go 5-7 to 7-5. Now that I have the SEC West done, I will be talking about the SEC East. To start off the SEC East, I'm going to be talking about Georgia. Now, Georgia in the 2020 college football season finished with a record of 8-2, and the offense did look a little suspect when they did not have an actual quarterback. But when JT Daniels was the quarterback for Georgia, the team was 1,000 times better. In the 2021 college football season, they will play Clemson, UAB, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Auburn, Kentucky, Florida, Missouri, Tennessee, Charleston Southern, and Georgia Tech. My prediction for Georgia in the 2021 college football season is to finish anywhere from 11-1 to undefeated in the regular season. Now, I fully expect Georgia to be in the SEC championship game and to come out as the best team in the SEC East. The next team I'm going to be talking about coming from the SEC East is Florida. Now, Florida in the 2021 college football season will play Florida Atlantic, USF, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, LSU, Georgia, South Carolina, Samford, Missouri, and Florida State. For Florida's season, I am predicting them to finish anywhere from 8-4 to 10-2. Now, they have a lot of things to address on the offensive side of the ball with the new faces they will have at a lot of the offensive skill positions because they lost a lot of production from that side of the ball to this year's NFL draft. And it'll be really interesting to see what will happen with Florida this season. And I am expecting some growing pains along the way. I am expecting some hiccups with a lot of new faces on the offense that are starting to get a lot of PT. But honestly, it's all really unknown with them. They could ball out and they could really just surprise a lot of people, or they could just be a disappointing team in college football. It's kind of the way that I see it. Next up, I'm going to be talking about Kentucky. Now, Kentucky in the 2020 college football season ended up with a record of 5-6. Now, Kentucky in 2020, their defense was very consistent, and their defense was pretty good for the most part, but their offense struggled a lot and was the reason why they really were not winning more games than they probably should have. In 2021, Kentucky will play Louisiana Monroe, Missouri, Chattanooga, South Carolina, Florida, LSU, Georgia, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, New Mexico State, and Louisville. For Kentucky in 2021 for this upcoming college football season, I expect them to at least win 6 games and be 6-6, and the best that I could see them being is 9-3. Now, I really don't know if they will be 9-3 this season unless they figure out their quarterback situation and how consistent their quarterback play is going to be, as the projected starter right now is Joey Gatewood. I'll put it this way: if Kentucky can figure out their quarterback issues, I don't see how they will not go 7-5 to 8-4 and potentially be 9-3 if everything goes as planned for them. But if they don't figure out what's going to happen, I could definitely see a 6-6 season. Now on to Tennessee, that is coming off a season in which they were pretty disappointing with a record of 3-7. Now their 2021 schedule includes playing Bowling Green, Pitt, Tennessee Tech, Florida, Missouri, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama, Kentucky, Georgia, South Alabama, and Vanderbilt. My prediction for the Tennessee Volunteers this season is to be at worst a 4-8 team and at best a 7-5 team. Now this season, I feel like Tennessee is going to go through some growing pains as they do have a whole new coaching staff. They lost a lot of key players to the transfer portal and even lost some of their top recruits in this past 2021 recruiting class. Now I think they're going to go through some pains on both sides of the ball, trying to find an identity for their team on both sides and trying to come together as a team in a very, very dismantled state. Now on to the Mizzou Tigers. Now Mizzou in 2020 went 5-5, and I would say they actually surprised a few people out there, as some people thought they were not going to be very good, but they were a pretty decent team as a whole. In 2020, they will play Central Michigan, Kentucky, Southeast Missouri, Boston College, Tennessee, North Texas, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, and Arkansas. My prediction for the Mizzou Tigers in 2021 is to finish anywhere from 5-7 to 8-4. I really do believe that Mizzou can be a bowl-eligible team and play in a bowl game and potentially even win it. And I do think they will be better than 5-7, but I do see them finishing anywhere from 5-7 to 8-4. Next up, I'm going to be talking about South Carolina. South Carolina is coming off a season in which they went 2-8 and were not very good as a team as a whole. In 2021, they will play Eastern Illinois, East Carolina, Georgia, Kentucky, Troy, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, Florida, Missouri, Auburn, and Clemson. My prediction for South Carolina in the 2021 college football season is to finish anywhere from 4-8 to 6-6. Now, I believe 6-6 is the best case scenario for South Carolina under this new coaching staff they have with head coach Coach Beamer. Now, I could really see South Carolina this year missing a bowl game yet again. I just don't really think they have the pieces to straight up go to a bowl game in year one under Coach Beamer as of right now. The last team that I'm going to be talking about today in my SEC predictions video is Vanderbilt. Now, Vanderbilt is coming off a season in 2020 in which they finished 0-9 and did not win a single game. In 2021, they will play ETSU, Colorado State, Stanford, Georgia, UConn, Florida, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Missouri, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. For my prediction for Vanderbilt this season for the 2021 college football season, I will say I'm not really expecting anything beyond the ordinary from Vanderbilt this year, as I'm predicting anywhere from a 2-10 season all the way to a 3-9 season. Well, guys, if you guys have made it this far in the video, remember to smash that like button, turn on them post notifications, and subscribe for more videos. B. Kelly out.